Hello and welcome to our video where we're going to dissect who I think the top 25 players leading up to Birmingham, which is the first major of RLCS 2025. Who are they? Let's start right into it. You can see on the right, I've got all the teams and all the players sorted by region who's going to this. I'm saving the honorable mentions for last because I think honorable mentions can spoil part of the list. All right, let's do the first five. Dun, 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 dun. Whoa! Okay. Let's do 25 and then move on from there. 25, Magic Bear, NA. Of this Gen G team, I feel like he was the one that had the X factor. Now, Reddles brings the experience. Cheese brings the energy and also some crazy good shots. I thought that Magic Bear was really the magic of the team. So I'm giving him the 25th spot, making him a top 25 player here. After that, I have Archie for EU. I felt like Archie was a similar vibe where he was very defensively focused, and him playing extremely well really drove GK to win the last Open for Europe. So I've got him at 24. Now, remember, if you disagree with my picks, you have to let me know, and you have to let me know why. You can't just disagree. You got to tell me why I'm wrong, because I'll listen. I don't claim to have a perfect list. This is just my impressions and opinions of these players. So, that being said, 23, I have Banana Head, OCE. They were looking very good. Obviously dropped one to Scrims World out there. But I think Banana Head is a top 25 player in the world. More so than any other player in that region. I guess that kind of spoils the rest of my picks. But to me, he's the highest ranked OCE player, and he deserves to be there. After that, I've got Jorius from Dignitas, EU. Obviously, on the right, I've got this Open wins. They didn't win, but Dignitas looked extremely strong, so he may not be the only player from that team we see here on this list. I thought he played very well. He was clutch in the moments where he needed to be clutch. Didn't play perfect, but I felt like Jorius was a very critical part of his team, and certainly deserves to be top 25. Based on what we've seen from Dignitas and him so far. Okay, then 21, we've got Oli. So another member of GK who kind of snuck into this list. If they didn't win Open 3 the way that they won it, 4-0ing all these teams, then I don't think these guys would be on my list, to be honest, which is maybe a little bit unfair because Open 1 and 2, they really didn't show up very well. But Open 3, because it's the most recent, feels like we have to give slightly more weight to Open 3 because that's kind of seeing where these teams are trending, where they're going. So Oli, I thought, was the standout player on GK, and so I put him on this list. I think he made a lot of really great plays. Him in the Batmobile. I guess maybe I should change this to Oli, parentheses, Batmobile, because he was a menace in that. So those are my first 5. Let's go ahead and do the next 5 because I feel like that's a good way to do this. Boom. Our first Sam player, I've got Lost right here from Furia. So Furia is looking extremely good this year. Most of the top lists I'm seeing, the team lists I'm seeing have them at 5 or 6. Some down to 4, depending on how you value NRG and Falcons. But I've seen Furia, they're obviously doing great. They're winning the region. Regions obviously doesn't have as much depth as NA or EU, more so EU. But they are doing their job to keep winning those regions. And Team Secret is not a bad team by any stretch. Like Team Secret, I think, is going to do good in this tournament as well. So Lost, I feel like, is a big part of the offense. And when he's hot, he is a very difficult player to stop. And he plays very well and very systematically. Like, he fits into the Furia system extremely well. Okay. Apparently Jack, Dignitas. To me, he is kind of that even keel that is needed because Jorius and Stizzy, I believe, have peaks and they also have their valleys, just like any other player. But I think Jack, with his experience, is a very stable team lead and very capable leader of this team. And so I think he makes it into the top 20 at number 19. After that, I've got Rise, who is our first entrant from MENA. He's playing with with Nupo and with Atomic. Misread that. And I feel like the way he's playing is very good. He's also obviously had a very good career in Rocket League. You can never count him out. He's always going to be solid, and he's always going to be competing for the top spots. And with their regional win, where they stole one from Falcons, I think that puts him right up there, and Rise is a big part of why that Twisted Minds team is so successful. Now, after this is where my two very controversial picks probably are. I mean, granted, at this point, you might already be yelling at the screen saying, I don't know what I'm talking about. Rawas. To me, to spoil the future of this list, Rawas is by far, well, maybe by far is rude. He is, in my opinion, the most regressed member of Falcons. So Falcons is TRK, Rawas, and Clears. I feel like Rawas is not shining the way he needs to shine, even though they got 2 open wins in MENA. For the Falcons, I think he's not playing up to the level he's played at before. I think a lot of people put Rawas in their top 10. Many people put him in their top 5. But to be honest, based on the first 3 opens that I've seen, I think his teammates are doing more than him, so therefore I can't put him in the top 10. A little bit of a spoiler of what's to come ahead. Monkey Moon, kind of a similar story. Obviously, him switching from winning the World Championship last year with BDS, now he's on Vitality with Zen and Exotic. I don't see it. I mean, Monkey Moon may be what you'd consider a traditional LAN player, right? He does very well in these LAN environments. He's very steady, and his play style is very repeatable on LAN. And so maybe we're going to see big things at Birmingham, but so far with these online opens for EU, I'm not seeing the Monkey Moon that was dominating last year Worlds. So those are kind of some maybe hot takes, maybe not. You let me know what you think there. Let's go ahead and do the next 5. All right. Next up, we've got our next NA player, LJ from NA. Now, obviously, these guys didn't win any opens, but the Ultimates played very well. They went to 2 of the grand finals, and they had a top 4 finish, I believe, in Open 2. So very consistent. Second best team in NA by points. They beat NRG in the last Open, so a lot of people are hype about that. A lot of their fans are hype about that. So LJ, a big part of their offense. I feel like First Killer and LJ are really the heart of the offense for the Ultimates. Chronic, more of a third man, is kind of my read on watching the game. And there's nothing wrong with being the third man. Like, that's a critical piece of the team, but it looks like they've kind of slated to put Chronic more defensively biased and put LJ First Killer more offensively biased. So LJ, I think's doing good, and we'll be interested to see how well they play on LAN together as a team. After that, I've got Stizzy. Obviously, that completes the Dignitas team. I've got Stizzy at 14, Jack at 19, and Jorius at 22. So Stizzy, in my opinion, on this team has an extremely high peak. He also has made some mistakes that I feel like getting I don't want to keep harping on it because he's obviously getting better as he's playing. So in the Open 1 and 2, he was a little bit shaky, especially on some defense stuff that I think is a fair criticism of him. So I could see if you wouldn't have him this high, but I'm definitely all about the hype, and I think he's playing good, and I think he's going to do good here in Birmingham. After that, I've got Beast Mode, number 13. Now, Beast Mode is like a top 3 favorite player of mine to watch, so it kind of hurt to not put him in the top 10 at least. But based on what I've seen from Open 1 and 2 and 3, I'm seeing more activity and offense from Atomic and a little bit more than Beast Mode from Daniel. So I have to put Beast Mode lower than these guys. Granted, NRG did dominate. Well, dominate's a strong word. They dominated Open 2. Open 1, they won. And Open 3, they got top 4, which for them is a disappointing result because we expect grand finals from this team. But I don't think Beast Mode has shown us what he can do or his peak, especially when we compare it to how he was playing last year. So I think the best is yet to come from him for this year and this season. And he does seem to be a player that really plays well on LAN. So I think we can expect him to do well. I just, based on how Opens 1, 2, and 3 went, I can't put him in the top 10, even though it hurts me a little bit to do that. Okay, Atto, EU. This is the first member of K-Core, which I think most people are going to have as the favorite to win just based on how well they played in the first 3 Opens. Granted, they did drop to GK, but GK looked like they could have beat like anybody that you would have put in front of them. So Atto, very important member of this K-Corp team. I do have his teammates higher than him. I do think Atto is extremely talented player, and it also is another player that I wanted to squeeze into my top 10, but I just couldn't really make it fit with who else I've got in there. So another one of my favorite players, probably my favorite EU player to watch play, and he just seems like he has a great personality as well. But I couldn't put him in the top 10 based on who else I had in my top 10, if that makes sense. It wasn't because he wasn't playing great. I thought he was playing very good. He had a couple really clutch moments in these Opens to secure the K-Core wins. And then Kalirs. So Kalirs, in my opinion, without putting these guys against each other, Kalirs, of the twins between Kalirs and Rawas, Kalirs is definitely the one that's playing better of those two. Spoiler, I think TRK is playing even better than them. But Kalirs is showing his offensive skills. I think another thing that he's underrated in is he has very good 50s on offense to create opportunities for his teammates. And he also can send power shots very well. He really punishes like loose balls in the middle of the field. Yeah, anyways. So I think, he is an excellent player and he's playing very well. Now, let's look at our top 10 here. Should we keep going groups of 5, right? Yeah, that's kind of a fun way to do it. Number 10, Mr. Daniel. Daniel is my favorite Rocket League player, my favorite RLCS player. And so I have extreme bias. I think he's playing better than Beast Mode so far from what we've seen from these first 3 Opens. He's had some very clutch moments to help his team secure 2 of the 3 Opens to win them out. He's definitely, in my opinion, of all the players in the world, I think Daniel's floor is the highest, if that makes sense. I guess if you want to really nitpick stuff, you could look at some of his replays and criticize certain things. But to me, he is probably the most consistent player, and I think almost anybody in the world would want them on their team because he just doesn't really have bad games. And he doesn't have bad series either. And, if you think differently, feel free to post something and tell me I'm wrong, but that's really what I think. I think Daniel has the highest floor in the game. You're guaranteed getting him. He's going to play amazing defense, midfield, and offense, and he can do it all. So I'm a big fan of Daniel. I don't think we've seen everything he can do. And honestly, I think Atomic has been playing better than him. So maybe a little spoiler about what's to come. Now, above Daniel, I have First Killer. And even though the Ultimates didn't get any open wins, they did grand final twice. And they lost to teams that were, had they lost to good teams. Gen G is, playing good, or they were playing good in Open 3. So Ultimates were playing good. Gen G was just very hot, and it was a Game 7 goal, 1-goal game. So, or it was OT, so it was a 1-goal game. Could have gone either way, to be honest. So that one was very close. Tough to really discount him a lot just based on one specific, moment there in the series. But he's been playing extremely consistent. He's really been the leader of this Ultimates team. And when he's on the field, he's going to be on the sidewall or in the midfield, picking those little chip passes off and then punishing the net for that. So I think First Killer, as far as what I'm seeing, compared to other NA, is more threatening than Daniel Beast Mode or LJ right now when he gets the ball. And honestly, I think the stats support that when you look at how he's doing and the type of numbers he's putting up on average per game. Wait, I have Atto on here twice. No way. Hold on. Oh, no. How did I have him on here twice? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and just remove him from here. That's embarrassing. To be honest, it's probably worth it to reshuffle it, but in the sake of show business, we're just going to talk about the honorable mentions and then slide everybody up one spot at the end. So at 7, I have Yan, who is leading Furia extremely well. They're playing amazing. He's playing amazing. And I think he's really the player to watch. So fun to watch him play on LAN. He's got that experience, and he's going to do great things. After that, I have Zen at 6. Is that a hot take not to have Zen within the top 5? A lot of people still consider him the best player in the world or top 2 player. But based on what I've seen, it's not seeing as much as I'd like to see from him. I think he can play better and do more. And without going too much criticism on him or anything like that, I think, if your team is Monkey Moon and Exotic, you're expected to do extremely well and to create opportunities for them. And they're going to create opportunities for you as well. And the Vitality squad quite hasn't meshed, and we're not seeing Zen do the same type of Zen stuff as before. So that is my take on that. Now, last but not least, the top 5. Okay, number 5, Atomic. Yes, I do have Atomic over Zen based on how these first 3 opens went. That's probably an unpopular take, but I think Atomic has been the best NA player through these first 3 opens, and he is playing better than Zen. Man, this chart just looks ridiculous without number 8 being in there. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know how I messed that up. And so Atomic, great player, very talented shooter. Definitely the way he plays his 50s, always extremely good setups for Daniel in Beast Mode. And to me, he is pretty clearly the best player on NRG, and NRG to me is still like a top 3, top 4 team in the world. So I think he has to get his flowers. Now above him, more hot takes, right? I've got TRK as the best player on Falcons. I think he's the most consistent player. I do think he actually plays better on LAN than both the twins do as well. And he's been putting up really good numbers and showing really good performance. And I expect him to be the leader of this team. So I think you got to put him top 5. Now, Nupo, TRK, I could see flipping these around. It's tough to rank Nupo because Twisted Minds got 1 win, but they've got 3 grand final appearances. So they won 1 of the 3 that they got to. Nupo to me was like much better than Rise and much better than Atomic with a K, this guy here. And so I felt like without Nupo, I don't think Twisted Minds is going to win that open. I think, if you replace them with another really talented Mina player, I won't list any, but if you have them in there, then you get the win. If you don't have him in there, I don't think Twisted Minds gets a win this open over the Falcons without Nupo. And I think his offense and the way he plays is very smothering, and it's going to be fun to watch it on LAN at Birmingham. Now, how about this for final picks? I've got Vatira as number 2 and Drally as number 1. Obviously, these two guys are on the same team. Well, how can you have two of the, 3 players of a team as number 1 and number 2? Well, just look at how they're playing. Drally is playing incredible. Like, to me, clearly the best threes player right now and the most punishing in the RLCS. Vatira also right up there. I could see potentially moving Atto up a little bit. Maybe that's why I had him in 8 and in 12 accidentally. But I think based on how K-Corp's playing, how they're dominating, minus the 4-0 loss to GK in Open 3, these guys just look great. And I think that loss is going to bring out an animal. And like, if you want somebody on your team that just loves to win and is going to do what it takes to win, I think Vatira is your guy. So that explains my list. Like I said, I'm sorry for the mix up right here. I would just go ahead and move all of this stuff down. So honorable mentions. Maybe we go one at a time for our honorable mentions. Number 1, Drafinho. Obviously the third member of Furia, I didn't have him on the top 25, but I could see him. I could definitely make a case for him being a top, in that 25 to 20 range as well. You might even feel that Drafinho is more impactful than Lost on the team. I don't know if I feel that. I think Lost is a little bit more of an impact player there, but obviously Drafinho is a big part of that team, and I hope to see him doing some more Fortnite dance celebrations when they win. CRR. So as you'll notice, I didn't have any of the complexity team on NA because I just didn't think. I think together they play very well, but individually I don't see Diaz, CRR, or Razeable as a massive standout. And complexity didn't get a grand final. They were just consistent. So their floor is good. So honorable mention, like I could see swapping CRR or Razeable for Magic Bear if you wanted to pick one extra NA person and swap Magic Bear out. But that was kind of my take there. Exotic, as you'll see, have him out of the list. That's a pretty tough take, I think. But the reality is he's not playing fantastic, at least when I'm watching him. And I wouldn't blame him for Vitality's issues because I think their issues are more like playstyle and meshing related than his like technical ability. Like no one can question Exotic's technical ability. So if you're going to slide anybody in here, maybe you put Exotic in and kind of push some of these other people up. But I just don't think he's playing that awesome. Definitely not as good as he was last year. Atomic from Twisted Minds, also a good honorable mention in my opinion. Maybe 26 through 30 top player. Unless you have a Mina bias, then you might put him higher. But I think between Rise, Nupo, Atomic is a talented player, but he's not the standout on that team by any stretch. Joyo. As you see, I didn't have Joyo on my list. I had Archie and Oli above him. And to me, it's kind of like, I think Archie and Oli played better, to be honest. And I don't think any member of that team is top 20 at the moment. Probably a little bit of a harsh take, but that's kind of how I'm seeing it. I think they played well together this last Open. They did not play very well together Opens 1 and 2. So that's kind of why I didn't put Joyo there. And I saw Joyo hit some clips and stuff, and he does well, but I don't see him hitting any of those clips on very talented teams. So I don't know. Kind of goes both ways. And then last but not least, Raziers, another OCE pick. Now, I think there was a couple of OCEs. Really, the only people I didn't include were APAC and SSA. No offense to these guys. Obviously, very talented players winning their region and getting the most points for their region. So certainly not a hater myself, but I think when you look at the other list of all the other players in the world, those guys just aren't top. They're just not top 30. So That's my whole list. Once again, sorry for the mishap on Atto being in two places at once. Maybe we put like Atto peaking at 8 and then Atto regular at 12. I don't know. We could probably just slide most of these people up and then put exotic in there, because I feel like that's probably a spicy pick. People are going to want to see exotic in the top 25 list, but you let me know what you think. If you think my list sucks, just say never cook again. Like, that's all you have to say. And I will take it from there. But if you could provide solid, concrete examples or counter arguments about my list and say, hey, this reason or that reason, then you let me know. Maybe also like Reddle's peaking could be 8, because when he peaks, he's tough to stop. So that's my list. Thank you for watching. We've got some exciting RLCS in front of us. Have a great night.